What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about 6 different mining stocks today. We'll be going over Bitfarms, BTBT, Cipher, Wolf for Soleus, Soleus, Masinai. I don't know how to pronounce that last part, but I think it's Soleus, one of those two. BTCM for King Tiski. You wanted me to talk about what I think about the halving as far as it's going to have an effect on BTCM and where I see prices next January. I'll probably go over what I think the effects of the halving are going to be on all of these, like in a maybe to start off the video or something like that. But CLSK, CleanSpark, is going to be for me. So we're going to be talking about BTBT, Bitfarms, Cipher, Wolf, BTCM, and finishing it up with CleanSpark. I have not let go of my position in CleanSpark. I will go over that, but I came very close today, guys. We're near that profit-taking area, but I know that might not make sense to some people because the price is going down, but I'm in a put. A put is where you make, it's an option where you make money as the price goes down, essentially. It's a trade. You know, it's trading. But anyways, Bitfarms, starting it all off, I had a couple people message me and leave comments about how the halving would not affect the amount of money that the miners are bringing in, or so, like just a couple people. And to me, maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I'm ignorant. Maybe I don't know. But miners, crypto miners, make money off of Bitcoin, right? They're mining Bitcoin to turn a profit. The halving is going to cut that amount of Bitcoin that they mine, that they can mine, that they can get rewarded, in half. I don't know where the disconnect is, and maybe I'm missing something, where the disconnect is for me to say that these miners will now be achieving half of the profit that they are now, and in fact even less, because by the time the halving happens, Bitcoin's at about $41,000 right now. By the time the halving happens, the price will probably be lower, if not around these areas, but probably it will be lower. So with the price going down and then the supply, the reward getting cut in half, how are they going to make more money? Somebody said that they're going to charge more, that their mining fees are going to go up. And that does happen. Like, historically speaking, mining fees do go up in times of high traffic and around the halving. But what also happens is there are miners that have to shut down because they don't have the appropriate funds. They don't have the amount of money allocated for this halving. They're not properly prepared. Miners shut down around the halving all the time. Every single cycle it has happened, except probably the first cycle. But the last 2 cycles, I've been there. It has happened. So I don't see how the halving can't have a negative effect. There's a couple people that have tried to convince me. And you seem like you know what you're talking about to a certain degree, and I'm sure, I don't know everything. I definitely don't know everything, but I can't see a scenario where if you're a miner and now you're going to be getting half the rewards, I can't see a scenario where short term that's going to be bad. Long term, of course, it's going to drive the price up. That's why the price moves up pretty dramatically after the halving, because it's supply and demand. Right? It's not because the miners need to make money, but that's part of it. And then the demand stays the same, but the supply gets cut in half. The price goes up. It's literally fundamentals of economics. I've said this a bunch of times whenever I talk about the halving. But to tell yourself or to tell anybody that the halving is not going to have a temporary, if not for some miners, maybe a permanent negative effect on the amount of revenue that they have, the amount of money that they're bringing in from the Bitcoins that they're mining, I don't see that. Help me out with that disconnect, because that doesn't make sense to me. I would absolutely believe that in the immediate term, because what happens whenever the halving happens? Let's go over it before we actually get into the miners, because I'm answering this question here, right? Let's go. Actually, we're going to do the index. Okay, let's look at this on a monthly basis. Okay, so the very first halving happened in 2012. Very first halving happened in 2012. It was actually in November, the very end of November. You can see here, for 1 month, we were stagnant. So for 1 month, yes, it went up 7.5%, but they took a 50% reward cut, okay? They can up fees, whatever. I doubt the fees go up 100%, And that's the thing. If you're at 100 and you take a 50% loss, you're at 50 now. To get back to 100, you have to do a 100% gain. It's not a 50% gain back up. So 7.5% with what would probably be less than 100% in fees like you're definitely taking a pay cut. For a solid month there, you're taking a pretty hefty pay cut as a miner, okay? That's 1 month. And then we started to build. Not shortly after, of course, the money started to go up. Let's actually look, let's see. And I'm putting it at the close of November because it was near the end of November, the first halving. Not but 1, 2, 3, or I guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months later, you're up 2,000%. So all is good, all is forgiven. It's fine. But in the more immediate term, your pay took a little bit of a standstill. It got stifled. In July 2016 was the next halving. Okay, price went down this month after increasing a little bit. Don't get me wrong, still dramatically lower than your previous all-time high. Almost 50% lower than your previous all-time high, and it continued to go down the next month, top to bottom. It went down 29.5%. And then not only that, but that's not the right tool, but so 29.5% in the value of Bitcoin, which you're mining, right? You didn't really start to break out. You moved up, but you didn't really break out for another 4 months. That's over a quarter of a year that not only did you take half of your pay cut, but you lost some in the meantime, and you were staggered. Nothing was going on. So you definitely, I don't care how high you raised your fees, unless you raised them by literally 100%, like it would probably even have to be more than 100% because the amount of fees right now that they have is not in proportion to the amount of money we're talking about missing whenever you cut the rewards in half. So you'd have to increase your fees by a lot. People would be paying thousands of dollars per transaction. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't compute. But 5 months there, it took about 4 to 5 months there before we started moving up again. Like really, we were stagnant for a little while. May here. We went down a little bit the next month, 3%, whatever, stagnant. We were basically stagnant for 4 months. On the 5th month is when we broke out. So again, you took half a pay cut and you were stagnant for over a quarter of a year. I don't see how miners are not going to temporarily have a shortcoming in revenue. They absolutely are. It's like if I sold t-shirts and I can only and the price of the t-shirts stay the same, but now I'm forced for whatever reason to only sell half the amount that I was selling before. I might charge up the shipping fee, but the price is like I'm not going to be making nearly as much money. Like that might not be a good analogy, but I feel like that gets the point across more or less. Like miners are absolutely going to take a hit financially speaking when the halving comes out. Unless I'm missing something. The people that commented and retort to that in response to that, you made valid points. But it's not enough. It's not enough to convince me that miners aren't going to take a hit. So that's what I think about the halving as far as it's going to have an effect on miners. I don't think it's going to be a good thing. I don't think it's going to be a detrimental thing. I don't think this is going to send them to the abyss that these miners are now going to, because again, the price does go up inevitably afterwards, and they'll make as much money, if not more money, than before. And then, yes, if they bring more miners on to up their overall hashing rate, to gain more rewards, there's still a total of half being put out. Like you're gonna take. I don't care if you double the amount of mining power you have. Like you're still gonna take a cut in the amount because let's say everybody doubled their mining output. You wouldn't get double the BTC back because the difficulty would also go up. So now the same amount of mining power, even though you doubled it, now the difficulty's gone up and you took a half cut on your BTC output in block rewards, you're going to be making less regardless. Even if you doubled even if every miner doubled their hash output. And again, I'm a chart guy. I'm not a fundamentalist to most degrees. But whenever it comes to things that I invest in personally, Bitcoin, crypto, I tend to look a little bit into the fundamentals. I know a little bit of what I'm talking about, so please correct me if any of that's wrong, but give me something that I can't dispute easily because absolutely I believe that the halving is going to be bad for miners, at least in the short term. Just in the short term, it's just a thing. It's a phase. Anyways, top to bottom here on Bitfarms. 618 to 69 here. Found resistance right in the sweet spot. The white zone is for loading and unloading only. And man, oh man, did we unload. 28.5% so far. We got about 13 days left in this month. Let's see where we're at on the RSI. Not bad. Looking good for sure. Probably come down and form a higher low. You absolutely could come all the way back down to $1.30. You absolutely could. You might not. You know, maybe you don't. Let's see if there's anything else that lines up with that bottom to top. You know, maybe you go a little bit above that. The 786 is right here at about $1.20. So I would say anywhere from about $1.20 to $1.55 is probably where you're going for Bitfarms. You are at the 382 right now. Not only is it the 382, this relative 382, but it's, come on now. It's also a previous area of resistance here and resistance here. You might find support in this area, temporarily speaking. Let's look at some shorter term time frames and see if there's anything that can confirm with that. You know, looking at this RSI, it is pretty abysmal. And don't get me wrong, absolutely you can just keep going down. You don't have to, you know, you just basically went straight up. But I would expect that maybe you see some kind of bounce. You're at 208. You might come back up to like 220. You might even go all the way back up to 260 before going lower. Let's look at the shorter term time frames. The 1 hour, the 2 hour. Look at that. You got some bullish divergence there in your oversold zone. I would bet tomorrow, if not sometime next week, you do see a little bit of a bounce. You know, 30 cents up, 20 cents up, something like that. Maybe again you go all the way back to 268, something like that. But nonetheless, whatever it is, it's going to be a lower high, and then you're going to find your lower low after that. So maybe tomorrow or sometime next week you get a little bit of a break. But in the same regards as when you're moving up here, you know, you had a little bit of a break on this day, and then you resumed up. You know, and that was a 12% drop that day. But then the next day you had a 9% move, and the next day you had an 18%. You know, like it'll be shortly forgotten. These little breaks aren't going to be long fought, if you catch my drift. So anyways, I would say somewhere between about $1.20 to $1.55 is where I think Bitfarms is going overall. Maybe potentially expect a short-term, more immediate bounce, if not tomorrow, sometime next week. And I wouldn't even call it a bounce. I really wouldn't even call it a bounce. I would just call it like standard volatility. But that's Bitfarms. BTBT. Bit digital here. Looking at it on the weekly, this is a ugly shape, man. Very ugly shape. This is an M pattern. It's a very classic. It's even like, yeah, it's just, yep, doesn't look happy. It doesn't look good at all. Some people actually would say it's happy, right? There's your eyes and there's your smiley face. They say when the market's smiling at you, it's bad. That's what like DaVinci J15 says. If you guys know who that is, he's an OG Bitcoin investor, Bitcoin like evangelist even maybe. Like he talked about Bitcoin a lot in the early days, trying to get people to buy it for $1. He has videos about talking about buying Bitcoin for $1. It's like $1 could change your life. Absolutely, it could have. If anybody bought Bitcoin for $1 and you held like he did, you know, you're doing well, man. But anyways, that's not about that. Got above your green line. You're below your green line now. It's the 123 moving average. You probably go lower. I really don't like this M shape at all, so I'm going to take a low to high extension here. I would bet you go to $1.50 to $1. $1 to $1.50, somewhere in that range before going up, and you even have the opportunity to go lower. M shapes are not friendly, man. I'm going to hope that this isn't an M that is successful and you see a lower low than this. I don't think you will. But generally speaking, with M's and W's, you know, with a W, I look for the second leg to be longer. With an M shape, I would look for the second leg to be longer. But we're talking about an M where the second leg is not going to be longer, it's going to be shorter. That's not standard in my opinion. But it does happen often enough. You know, it's not like this crazy thing. But I do think that you're forming like your own uptrend and stuff. So seeing a overall higher low somewhere in this area compared to this low is what I'm expecting, but again, somewhere between really like $1.05 to $1.50. If you go a little bit below this line, that's okay. This isn't like a really high market cap stock, so it can fudge the numbers a little bit. So BTBT, that's that. Cipher, nope, not CIFs, Cipher. Also kind of not a friendly shape. You can see where they look similar. I call this actually the reverse bow. It's basically an M pattern with a W in it, right? To me, it just looks like, I always explain it, but it looks like if you put like an arrow there, you know, like you got your bow, right? Here's your, I don't know what these are called, your fletchings. No, I don't know what that's called. I'm not a bow guy, man, but to me it looks like a bow that would go this way, that would go up. Your arrow would go up, but it doesn't go up. That's why it's called the reverse bow. That's why I call it the reverse bow, because it goes down. It's basically just an M shape with a W at the top. And I find that to be a lot more successful than M shapes themselves. I'm sure there's a name for it besides what I've called it. I just haven't figured out what anybody else calls it yet. I'm sure other people have identified this too. I'm new in the grand scheme of things with trading. I've been doing this for 7 years, but there's people who've been doing it for 40 years, 50 years. You know what I mean? So, and people who were doing it even before that. So I'm sure there's a name for it. I just don't know what it is, and that might not even be what it is. But nonetheless, bottom to top, I don't like the shape of it overall. Does look like a double top. Pretty high volume on this gravestone doji is what they call that, and look at you just crapping out right now. At a minimum, you're going to go to $1.95. Here you are at $2.63 right now, but I absolutely think you go lower. You probably go to about $1.05 as well, if not 86 cents. That's where I'm expecting you to go. 86 cents to $1.05, low to high here. Your 1886 is down there, deep extension off of a small move. That makes sense. At least, $1.30 up here with your 1618. And that could happen. Your 1618 absolutely could. I have been saying $1.04 to what was it, 86 cents? 85 cents. Let's say $1.04 to 85 cents. But you could hold support at about $1.30. You've got support here. You've got support here. It does come in line with your golden extension, and it's just below your 0.5. Like that could happen as well. So as big of a range as it is, I feel comfortable saying between 85 cents to $1.28 roughly, with an emphasis probably on that $1 to 85 cent area personally. But that's what I think for Cipher Mining, man. All these things look like they're going down. Let's see if the immediate term looks a little bit bullish. Yeah, you're at your oversold zone. You could bounce right off of there. You could go down though, right? The oversold zone is like strength to the downside. Your 3 hour does not look friendly at all. Come on, man. Why are you doing this? There we go. Very oversold on your 3 hour. 1 hour kind of got a double bottom. Yeah, again, kind of like Bitfarms, and maybe BTBT has this too. I wonder. They all kind of run together to a certain degree. Yeah, BTBT has it too. Maybe. But the thing is, you just rejected this oversold zone. So I don't know. BTBT might look worse, but it wouldn't surprise me. Again, nothing moves in straight lines up or down. It wouldn't surprise me if all these stocks so far saw a little bit of relief either tomorrow to end the week or sometime next week. Relief, in my opinion, would be in the sense of a lower high, right? Throughout this whole trend, a lower high. Maybe you're at 264. Maybe you go up a whole dollar from here. That's pretty decent gains, man. It's actually pretty decent gains from where you're at, right? If we go from here to 364, which you could do, that's 37%, 38%. And that could happen next week or starting tomorrow, but then down more. I don't think you're done. So don't get caught up in that. Don't feel the FOMO on any of these. We're going to move on to Wolf here. Terra Wolf. Out of all the mining stocks besides CleanSpark, this is the only one that I'm actually interested in buying. I think they're all interesting. I think, and I can be wrong, I have a solid history, I'm sure we all do, of picking our favorite one, and then there's one that we had our eye on, but it goes way up. It goes way up past all of them. Wolf and CleanSpark are the ones that I like. Absolutely any of the ones that I've talked about so far besides those could go up more. There could be one that we haven't talked about. There's tons of mining stocks, out there besides these. There's more than literally double these stocks out there. So we're talking about 6. There's more than double that in the market. So who knows which one's really going to perform the best. But for me, the only ones that I'm personally interested is Wolf and CleanSpark. That's just my personal little 2 cents there. And maybe they do the best, maybe they do the worst, but they're the ones that make me feel safest inside. I don't want to gamble. I'm already gambling with my money to a certain degree, right? Investing, but it's all a gamble. Whether you invest, whether you don't invest, it's all a gamble. If you don't invest, you're gambling that the United States dollar won't hyperinflate. You're gambling that it's safer in a bank than it would be in your hands doing something to try to make it grow. As long as you're doing it responsibly, whatever that means, you set rules for yourself and you're strict about it. You can do well with it. But again, getting back to the main point here, the only ones that I feel comfortable gambling with are CleanSpark and Wolf. And here you are at the white zone for loading and unloading only. You're holding it pretty well. I mean, to be fair, you're at it right now. I wouldn't say you're holding it, but you are at the oversold zone in itself, an area you've bounced before, but after you went into it, bounced before here. You could see a bounce here. Let's look at the more immediate stuff. 2 hour looks a little bit sad. 1 hour looks a little bit hopeful. Could go a little bit more down again leading into tomorrow. Maybe you do finish off the day red, maybe you open the day red and then you close the day green, something like that. But either tomorrow or sometime next week you might see a bounce. Maybe you go up to about $1.70, maybe you go all the way back up to about $2, but then again you're probably going to resume this move to the downside. You know, with how much time we have until the halving, I would think Wolf sees a lower low than this. I think it does. This 1272 is right down here near these lows. You could go all the way down to 63 cents. And in fact, I would kind of expect that. There is hope, because I am bullish on this, that you could go down and not hit it. It's not common to do that, and I don't normally call for that. In fact, I always, like, whenever I see these extensions, I always call for something in there. But it does happen. Maybe this is one of those times where you don't hit the 1272, you bounce somewhere in the middle of this little zone of darkness here, between about 89 cents and 63 cents. But you know, you've got your lower high here. This is technically a lower low. I would kind of expect that you go lower than this low, personally. This in itself is an M as well, right? So just be aware of that. And generally speaking, you zoom out. If you zoom out and you look at this for what it is, right? It's kind of like a reverse bow in itself too, right? Maybe you get that M, but really it's a W. The arrow should go this way, but really it's the reverse, so it goes up. So I mean, that it's a very common topping and bottoming pattern. It's really not something that you see with continuation. So if this happens, I would expect you go lower, you consolidate for a little bit. Hey, that kind of makes sense to me, right? A little bit of stagnation with the halving happening, and then you work your way up. I doubt you go below these lows, but it won't surprise me if you go below here. So probably below 90 cents. Specifically speaking, I would think below 90 cents, but above 62 cents. Maybe you go right at 63 cents. I don't think you'll see the 1618. I don't think you'll see the 1414. You could go lower than these lows, but if you do, you'd go a little bit lower, just a little bit. I don't think you see that 1618, but I'd be surprised if you did go lower than those lows. Yeah. Anyways, that's Wolf. Moving on to BTCM, Bit Mining Limited. This one looks a little bit more friendly. It's a failed pattern is what it is. Unfortunately, it's a failed pattern. I hate seeing failed patterns. I love seeing them come to fruition, but man, what you had here was like a ascending triangle, right? A triangle. Maybe it wasn't like that. Maybe it was more like this, right? Ascending triangle, increasing lows, flat top here. It would make sense that you can draw it like this, because here's your first low after the top, so this low is irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, but for the pattern it is. You broke out. You did not meet your measure move. Absolutely, you did not. The measure move would be that's not it. I'm going to be conservative here as far as the top goes. The measure move would have been a little bit higher. You didn't meet it, but that happens. Just because it's a measure move doesn't mean that's what it has to do. That would have fit really nice with this little area of consolidation over here, but you didn't hit it. Get over it. It's just how it is sometimes, You failed to hit your 1618. You got so close. So if anybody was watching this, if any traders, algorithms were paying attention to this, you generally see this with front running. So there might have been a lot of selling interest down here, and that's probably why you got such a dramatic sell-off, actually. And I do think you'll probably come back down to this 236, come back down. Oftentimes, when you get a failed pattern or a failed breakout attempt like this, I wouldn't even call it a failed breakout attempt. Because that's a solid breakout. That was 59% in 1 week. That's a pretty successful breakout, but it didn't hit the measure move is what I'm trying to say. Whenever this happens, whenever it comes back down into the pattern before it hits the measure move, generally you do still find support where you found support before. So I would look, over the coming weeks, months even, because this is the weekly chart, that you could find support around $3. Around $3. If not, if you slow things down and you have a bit of a softer landing, maybe you find support closer to like $3.20, $3.30, something like that. But I do think somewhere between this 382 and the 236 is where you're going to go, and that's between about 326 to 297. So somewhere in there, lower is where I think you're going. This weekly RSI is really nice, gotta say, but I think it's gonna look uglier here in a second. You were very overbought. Coming out of the overbought zone, you're probably going to go to your oversold zone, or at least down to like the 40 area before you decide to turn up again. So I do think lower on this one, lower on all accounts. Let's look at the short term real quick though. Real quick. Yeah, they're all like right in that. They're all ripe for a bounce, but they're also ripe to just like drop ass right now, honestly. Um, I don't know if I. Yeah, yeah, you got some pretty solid bullish divergence on that one. Actually, I like that one the most for a bounce. You might see this thing bounce tomorrow. Maybe they all do bounce tomorrow, man. Maybe they do. Maybe they and if they bounce tomorrow, it wouldn't be crazy if they opened the day down and then moved up. It also wouldn't be crazy if they opened the day up, but that would just, with how these things work, I would kind of expect that it would open the day down, but I could be wrong. But nonetheless, tomorrow, the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, maybe they do all move up a little bit tomorrow. But again, a lower high. You're at 371 here. Maybe this thing goes up another $1, but then it'll come back down. Don't feel the FOMO if you see that, right? We still have a lot of time before the halving. Bitcoin's still going down. I would be surprised. That's the other thing, man, is all these stocks, all these mining stocks, I feel like Bitcoin is going to go lower. Maybe it has a pump tomorrow a little bit, but it wouldn't be that big. I mean, you could go all the way back up to like 43K tomorrow. That is possible. And that might be enough to give the mining stocks a little bit of oomph in their moves, but more or less this line here, something like that, or however you want to draw it. Maybe it's like this, whatever. I don't know if I feel like that. This line has more touch points on it, like that one right there. So I would say that you have broken out of this one, definitely. Maybe you come back up and touch it, and again, that's right around this, just below 43K there. So break out, test it for resistance, and then go down, something like that. But you just broke out of it. I do think that you've got lower to go. You just rejected like your 50 area, kind of an area that you found support here before. You rejected it right below where you found support there too. So I would think that if Bitcoin goes down, the mining stocks would go down, and they are pretty correlated, but they're not like 100% correlated. So sometimes Bitcoin can move down and these things can move up. But anyways, maybe they do, maybe they move up, maybe they don't tomorrow. I don't know. I do expect a bounce to happen at some point soon enough, but I wouldn't be surprised if they just went lower too, because you are getting in some of the weaker readings. CLSK is the only one actually in the oversold zone. You're at your 0.5. It's not common to find support at your 0.5, but there might have been some people who were expecting to find support here and you didn't. You were finding turbulence there a little bit, giving people hope, but you didn't. So maybe this next level here is going to provide support. Not only is it the 0.5, but it's also a significant enough kind of top right there. I actually want to go back and see. Yeah, you found resistance there before. That's about it. Support before. You're in an area literally that you've found support and resistance several times throughout your history. So finding support here wouldn't be too crazy. The 2 hour looks bleak, looks not good. The 1 hour a little bit better, but again, this I don't know why it keeps doing that. This bullish divergence that you have, higher lows here while having lower lows, to me it's not too encouraging with this rejection off the oversold zone. I would kind of expect with that look that you'd go lower than this. So again, with that idea, because this is the 1 hour, maybe in the beginning of the day you open up lower and then you come out to close the day or something like that. But I would expect that CleanSpark sees some kind of bounce. I feel like I'm on repeat here, but it's the truth, man. I would expect that it sees some kind of bounce within the next day, if not sometime next week, and you might move up. Maybe you only move up to $8, maybe move all the way back up to about $10, something like that. But all in all, I very much do expect that we'll see prices below $6, if not at least below like $6.30, $6.50. That there is significance around that 620 area. Top here to bottom, right? I think that's the bottom. Yeah. I mean, look at that. You're right at your 886, man. This is actually a pretty classic level to find support on, right there. Whenever you see extensions being hit and you come back down and you find support right on your 886, that's generally a really good thing. Generally being the keyword. It doesn't mean that we're going to go up just yet, but man, I'm really close, guys, to letting go of my put options. Today I was feeling it, really at the lows of it. Of course, at the lows of it, that's when I was feeling whenever I was feeling it the most. But maybe tomorrow I will let go of my put options. We're not quite in that area yet. I was looking for prices below about 650 before I let them go. and we got down to 676, but it just depends. It depends, man, because yeah, this thing could move all the way back up here. That's a pretty solid amount to move up. It's a 40% move there. 40%, maybe even a 52% move. And talking about playing the game, even if it does that and it comes back down, you're playing the game a little bit. And I don't like to play the game, but I am playing the game with this thing right now. So I might take my put options instead of risking the potential upside. I might just risk the potential downside that we have left. Yes, it could have been sick gains, but I don't know, man. I keep going back and forth. I think I might pull the trigger tomorrow, but we'll see. There's some prices I want to wait for. I want to be patient. I'm not totally convinced by the shorter term time frames just yet that this thing's ready to bounce from this level, though I will say, looking at the 886, it does have me a bit intimidated. Looking at this previous price area that it's found significance on several times, a little bit intimidated. The one thing that's not going in the favor of the bulls is the fact that we did just break into the oversold zone. If we look at this for what it is, let's just go back in time. I'll pull this up a little bit more. Oversold zone here, first time you've been oversold in a while. I'm going to compare it to that because this is the first time we've been oversold in a while on the daily. So the first time you were oversold in a while, it was right here on Monday, September 25th. Here you were. You did move up a little bit, but then ultimately you can see you went lower, right? If you were just patient for about a week, you went lower. And then this was oversold, sure, but that was the second attempt. It's not the same thing. So here you are, oversold, first time in a while. Right here on this day, and you continue to go lower for the preceding 3 or 4 days. Here you are, oversold right here on this day. Nope, no. Yes? Let me see, I gotta whiten it out a little bit. No, you were not oversold on this day. You got oversold on this day. You moved stagnant for quite a while, from November 21st until December 15th. That's whenever you found your low, your next low. You did go lower. You went up a little bit, but still lower nonetheless. First time being oversold again in a while. That was the only one that was really a true bounce right off of it, but it still didn't bounce that high. It was more stagnant, I would say. Still a shift in direction nonetheless. But here, oversold right here on your first day in a while. Actually, technically, it was this day. The following 4 or 3 days, you went lower each day. This was your first oversold day in a while, and two days later you went lower. The third day you did close higher, but you were actually lower for 3 days. You did get lower prices. But this actually, that's not even fair because that you were oversold. Actually, not your first time in a while. This was your first time being oversold in a while, which is right here, and you proceeded to go lower, and then inevitably lower. But you catch the drift, right? You're catching my drift. So. Maybe it does bounce here, but I'm pretty confident that we might have 1 more day, if not 2 more days of downside. I do think we'll see a bounce soon enough. I'm not going to play the game with this thing going up. I'll probably I'm not going to play the game as in I'm not going to buy a call option. At least not with everything that I've got gains wise. I'll probably buy some stocks down here, not all of it. So I'm going to take my gains from my put option. I'm going to roll that over into the stock itself, but not all of it, probably about half of it, and then I might sit on the other half. I might put some of that into a call option to play the game a little bit more while it goes up, but these are going to be long-term call options. They're going to be options that don't expire for multiple years, till the end of the bull cycle, or I should say over a year, till the end of the bull cycle, so that even if it does go lower, all I have to do is just wait, because inevitably we know where this thing's going, man. We all know that CleanSpark's going to go up real high. I would think by the end of this year we absolutely will be above these highs. So as long as I take a call option that expires sometime in 2025, I think I'll be safe with that, especially after this huge deficit that we've had down. I want to go back real quick. I forgot to touch on something for King T-Ski. BTCM here. You wanted me to talk about where I see it being in January specifically. That's a hard thing to answer, man. It's actually a really hard thing to answer. I'm not gonna lie. Not easy on me at all. I would kind of think between about $42 to $63 by January. maybe in January, but maybe sometime after January. Maybe that happens in July. You know, I really don't know. But the 61869 is a point of interest. Price action here, found support, little support throughout this whole area here and even here, right? Like, so that 61869 area is a pretty significant area of interest. You went down pretty heavy, so I bet you'll come up pretty heavy when it's time, but I don't think it's time yet. It'll be time after the halving, and probably some months after the halving, but for now, down. But anyways, guys, I hope that all makes sense. I hope I didn't bore anybody, or you know, I gave you the information you're looking for. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. It's literally all my opinions, okay? I only own one of the stocks that we've talked about. I'm thinking about buying Wolf, but you know, you do what you want with your money. If you make money, I'm not going to come to you asking you for your money. So if you lose money, don't you come to me complaining to me that you lost money, right? We're emotional beings. We make the wrong decisions sometimes. Try not to. If and when the prices of these stocks does see a bounce, sees a recovery, because they're going down straight. They can't do that forever. They have to see some kind of recovery, a relief rally, even a little bit of stagnation, and you FOMO in at that, and then it goes down more and you get screwed. Like, own it. That's you. And it's okay. Just like I was saying about CLSK, man, if I and I do plan on buying some stock really soon, letting go of my put options, if it continues to go lower, even if it dropped $2 more, I'm just going to not panic. I'm not going to panic. So I'm definitely, if I'm buying here and it goes lower, I'm definitely not going to sell down there. I would just buy more. But that's me. You do what you want. You know, maybe you should sell and then it goes lower and you're grateful that you did sell. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think all of these stocks are going to do very well over the next year and a half. And yeah, man, that's all I got. So if you liked the video, hit that like button, subscribe to see more. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.